So, this is how you're gonna fight me, huh, Alpha? You're going to use alien DNA from the living moon of Pandora to fight against my Earth-based hybrid. Using genomes like that, failing to account for the laws of physics and biomechanics, and on top of that, ignoring my most dangerous weapon on my hybrids? You are an absolute fool for breaking the rules of the hybrid war and not thinking you're going to pay for it. What's up, my Ammonites? It's your boy Yen Guy, and welcome back to the lab. And today, we will be examining another hybrid that has been created by Alpha G, the same creator that made Mason. If you remember that video, I have created the Abbadon dragon specifically designed to kill the Indominus 2.0. Following those original rules, specifically stating that only real-life animals, extinct and living today, those are the only genomes that are allowed to use. That means no fictional aliens, no kaijus, and no fantasy creatures. And unfortunately for Alpha, he has actually broken those specific rules. And he thought he could just say, oh, the hybrid warfare is over. No! Oh, no. You thought the hybrid war was over? No, 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 no. Those rules still apply, even here. And based on how big the hybrid war actually got from this year, I would highly expect it to be an annual event. So, even if it was just a one-time thing, those rules still apply here. And as well as you have forgotten to account for the laws of physics, both on Earth and everywhere else in the universe. So without further ado, let's take a deep dive into this alien Thunderbird. Oh, I cannot wait to thoroughly dissect and thoroughly destroy this pathetic attempt at victory. Okay, so beginning with the obvious, we are looking at two organisms that are adapted to two different environmental situations on two different planets. The reason why the rules apply that only Earth's organisms are allowed to be used is because if an alien from Pandora is to try to breathe Earth's atmosphere, it will die within 4 minutes. Because, assuming that according to the lore of Pandora, if an organism from Earth is to try breathe Pandora's atmosphere, it will die within 4 minutes, if not sooner. Because the atmospheric compositions, such as oxygen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and all that jazz, as you can see in the graphs here, on the left side you can see Pandora's atmosphere, and on this side you can see Earth's composition right here. Seeing the differences between the two atmospheres, both organisms will die if one is to enter the other. So, yeah, both organisms are gonna be breathing poison if one is gonna enter the turf of the other. But even ignoring all that, there's also the density of the atmosphere that you have failed to account for. For you see, in the world of Pandora, the atmosphere is actually much thicker than the atmosphere that is on Earth. This actually allows for bigger animals to take to the wing, which is why you see animals like the Torok Makto having a wingspan of over 100 feet, and the Storm Glider, that's even bigger, being able to dominate the skies of Pandora. But if those two same organisms is to enter the Earth's atmosphere and it's able to breathe, those two creatures are gonna find a much harder time taking to the wing because of its own weight. Also, let's not forget that flight is a very energy expensive activity. So having a much bigger animal be trying to take to the wing in our Earth's atmosphere, it's gonna be exerting a lot more energy to both take off and stay airborne. And also, since the Earth's atmosphere is much thinner, breathing said atmosphere from a Pandoran organism, that's gonna be like a human from sea level trying to migrate all the way to a high altitude area such as the Himalayas. However, there is a very high possibility that the air cavities that are directly at the base of the wings, located at the upper torso, might actually allow it to absorb much bigger amounts of breathable air. However, since we are talking about Earth's atmosphere and not Pandora's, that adaptation might actually be a downgrade, since those air cavities might also be an open door for deadly gases to enter the respiratory system. So that actually serves as a double-edged sword. Having a respiratory system designed for Pandora's atmosphere will more than likely not work on planet Earth's atmosphere. That's gonna be a dangerous asthma attack. And speaking of flight energy activity, that actually brings us to gravity. So as you remember, Pandora is a planet that is about 0.8% of Earth's gravity. That's about this number lighter than Earth's gravity. So, going by that logic combined with the atmosphere, that actually allows very large animals to fly. However, on Earth, we are looking at an animal that is about 460 to 766 pounds. Already pushing the maximum limit of the possible capability of biological flight. I mean, I have seen after doing research on gliders, it is actually possible for this alien hybrid to fly. But it's gonna be exerting a lot more energy to stay airborne. And it's probably gonna be very difficult to flap its wings, since all that surface area is gonna be very hard to move while airborne. So it's more than likely gonna have more of a soaring motion versus flapping the wings like other flying creatures can. So, there is a chance of flight here. So there is gravity, but there's still a lot of energy exertion. So, for the battle arena, I have decided to take it upon myself to make the atmosphere that is both breathable and dense enough for both combatants to fly on equal footing. Quote unquote. It would be more like winging, but no less. That is how the battle arena is going to be. So, breathable air, and equal gravity. So, for the sake of argument, it's going to be Earth's gravity. With that being said, let's actually take a closer look at what we are looking at here of what Alpha G has tried to create. Okay, so looking at the list here, what we are looking at as of so far, as I've already stated before already, we are looking at both the Storm Glider and the Great Leonapteryx, both from Pandora, which makes up the massive flying capabilities and all the dominance of aerial superiority. But here's a massive problem that you've probably overlooked, and that is the respiratory system. Not only do you have the mouth and nostrils of the creature that you got to worry about, not to mention the extra eyes that are on the head, you also have 2 to 4 massive respiratory cavities at the upper torso, which are placed right here. And if there's anything that's going into those that's potentially dangerous, that's gonna be a direct killing blow directed at the lungs. If it's not gonna paralyze the creature, there's also a dangerous chance of respiratory failure, among other things. But moving on to the next genome, you've chosen Killer Whale for strategic intelligence and pod level memory, among hunting skills, I'm assuming. It is pretty good on paper, except it's an aquatic creature. So, there might be a chance that it might help in the air. I would have personally went with a corvid like a raven or a crow, which is actually what I have chosen for my first hybrid, but I've chosen other relatives as well for also capable learning abilities. But if there's neurotoxins that are attacking the brain, all those connections are gonna be absolutely obliterated. Which brings us to bioluminescent squid? I'm assuming that you mean cuttlefish, because all squids actually have, all cephalopods like octopus, squid, and cuttlefish all have chromatophores that allow it to change color as well as texture of the skin. The problem with this though, well, adding bioluminescence is only gonna make it a dead giveaway at night. And with my hybrid having extremely good night vision, that's gonna be a massive target. I mean, if you're using cuttlefish, it might have the brain capacity to change its colors to camouflage itself while in the air, making blues, whites, silvers, and other textures viewed from below, and darker colors from above, which is pretty brilliant as well. But again, you gotta account for other things as well, which brings us to the mosasaur, allowing it to swim underwater. And you also added falcon for diving and long distance sight. I don't know if you realize this or not, but water actually has a very strong force-stopping property. It can actually stop bullets on impact, so if you decide to try to dive down without any, at least at full speed, you're not gonna just hit liquid. You're actually essentially gonna hit a brick wall before you sink to the bottom of said water body. Unless you have some sort of impact absorbing property, that's gonna be a very bad day for a giant Thunderbird. I mean, and also that diving speed, just about any aerial assassins such as eagles and hawks are also capable of doing this. So, I mean, yes, you might have argued the peregrine falcon, being the fastest creature with wings, has the best capability of diving thanks to its aerodynamic shape and this being in the stoop. That actually allows it to propel it at a maximum speed of about 300 miles an hour. However, you forgot to account for the size of this creature, so due to air resistance, that's gonna drop it down to about 100 miles an hour. Possibly more, but it's not gonna be many more than 200. But there's also octopus. Again, there's a lot of neurons, and I see you're really investing your time into all that brain capacity. You forgot the other adaptations as well, except for the crocodilian with the strong bite force, the underwater agility, and armored hide. You see, when I built the Abbadon dragon, I actually chose Gannet, specifically to allow it to dive in the water and fly back up. What you fail to realize is that you need to be able to absorb those impacts when diving underwater from high altitudes. You're basically dropping a school bus into a body of water. So, yeah, already a pretty bad design. But if you want to see my hybrids, be sure to subscribe for more coming out, and also check out the Creating Monster playlist that I have here on this channel. So for this battle, since you've chosen to create the biggest creature to take to the skies, I'm gonna hit you with the smallest hybrid in my arsenal, which is the Dracoraptor. So let's go ahead and roll the tape. And that's the best case scenario for just one of my Dracoraptors. Imagine a whole flock of them. Actually, you know what? Here's what this is gonna look like. Nothing but burning, flapping chaos. And also, here's a scenario for the original Abaddon dragon, which looks a lot like... the 2.0, which I haven't even released yet, but already shows dominance, which basically looks also just like... Yeah. And that's just what's in the air. Oh, you think that we're done here? You think I'm just gonna stop at just the skies? Oh, oh no! No, we are not even close to being done. I'm going to hit you with gravity. Since you want to take on the ground, I'm gonna hit you with Glarong as well. And that fight, even with its ability to fly, is gonna look a lot like this. In the desert open plain, Glarong surveys his territory in search of an easy meal. At least, that is what Wood should be doing, if he were even aware that there is a predator that is from the sky in search of an easy meal. He is being watched from above. The spiny armor of the Glarongosaurus has greatly reduced the severe impact of this surprisingly lightweight assailant. Glarong attacks with a counter bite. With a severely injured wing, potential breaking, the Thunderbird is now trapped on the ground. But Glarong is not finished, for he has yet another weapon at his disposal, one that has quickly turned the tide. Burning and choking in the ashes, the Thunderbird is now at the mercy, and Glarong makes a final pounce, finishing with a killing blow. And you really want to talk about aquatic dominance? You think you can take me on in the deep seas? Then clearly you do not know Poseidon at all. Let me introduce you to the coastal whale dragon. And this battle is gonna look a lot like this. Out in the open seas, Poseidon patrols his usual swimming grounds. He is out here foraging for just about anything to eat. From the soft-bodied but wide variety of poisonous jellyfish to larger prey such as tuna, fish, and even sharks and other large mammals. For he is a massive predator. But something has been disturbing his hunting grounds. Food has suddenly become much scarcer than usual, and it is not caused from anything in the water, but from the skies above. After a few sessions of spy hopping, he has spotted a potential culprit. The massive Thunderbird searches for large fish and other edibles that the bounty of seas can provide. This cannot be tolerated. He lets out a mighty roar as a warning to this new airborne intruder. But the Thunderbird does not barely give it mind. A new display is required. He goes underwater, absorbing as much water within his body as possible. But it is not for mere defense. Now the Thunderbird takes notice. Could this be a potential meal? This would prove a fatal mistake. For this inflation is not to protect the sea dragon from any impacts. He is aiming with a different kind of weapon. A direct blast from a jet of water as powerful as a fire hose. He makes a direct blow to the lungs, causing the Thunderbird to crash into the water, where it is most vulnerable. Now Poseidon moves in for a deadly kill. The Thunderbird tries to swim away, using its massive wings to propel itself in the water. But Poseidon is much better designed to be in the water. He moves in, biting the tail. A deadly poison is already seeping into the veins of the mighty Thunderbird and is now being dragged down to drown in a watery grave. Yes, I've decided to hit you all with all of my hybrids, one-on-one, round for round, because you thought you could take on all the hybrids that I've created. Well, I've decided to accept that challenge. And with that, the execution is complete. And a lot of the hybrids that I have created so far have not even been fully demonstrated on this channel yet. So, if you want to see more of the monsters that I have created, and you want to see your monsters go up against my beasts, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment and a link to the hybrid you've created for me. And as always, my lucky Ammonites, I will see you in the next dive and the next execution.